With sweat on his face, Giorgio opened the letter and started reading it. It was from Olivia. She mentioned that she does not like writing letters because they are annoying to her. Giorgio was smiling even more now after reading it. He was happy that she didn't mention anything about not liking him but instead expressed her dislike for writing letters. Even her handwriting was not good in the letter. She didn't even include any frills. When Renato saw the letter, he agreed that she didn't include much in it, with no sign of manners, conduct, or character. Renato presented his thoughts about Giorgio meeting someone from his knowledge. Giorgio slammed his hand on the table and said Renato must be tired. Giorgio wanted to know why Renato said that to him. Renato was just being concerned about him. According to Renato, Giorgio hadn't really met many women after all. Giorgio just thought he didn't need Renato's help as he was handsome, nice, and a true gentleman. Both Renato and his butler were shocked hearing his thoughts. He wasn't really a gentleman at the moment when he was talking. How did he even forget that Renato was his friend and cousin? Giorgio apologized. Meanwhile, Olivia was busy with work and assigning tasks to her people. She assigned Oscar to count the medicines knights would require while battling for injured knights, and Daisy was assigned to check up on socks, clothes, and shoes. But Daisy was already prepared for it before Olivia said anything. As they kept walking, she yelled for everyone to work hard for their money and time, like they always did, without sparing any expenses. Olivia ordered Hammond to give the artifact maker Annex 20 low-quality oricans from storage. They may get it. Hammond told them about infusing the magic that serves as a hearth. Oscar noticed she was more concerned about everything, and Hammond wrote down everything she said. Oscar asked why she wanted to infuse them with lower-class magic. He wanted to use those oricans to fund the state operations. Olivia explained that it was about to get chilly weather and they needed to warm their bodies. Oscar just stood there and didn't say much about it. Later, Oscar and Daisy were in a room alone. He asked if she was the one who taught Lady Olivia the art of charity. He was concerned about the oricans. Even if they were old quality, 20 of them would be worth 2 months' budget. Daisy offered him tea and explained that's the reason why Oscar likes her, the way she handles everything and knows how to spend money. But he never knew that he would be the reason to make money for her in the future. He was working like a dog. Out of curiosity, Oscar asked Daisy about her feelings about being confessed to by the person she likes or not. She hasn't yet, but Daisy was a player, keeping it out of everyone's eyes. Lady Olivia was after her to know who it was that Daisy liked. She sat beside Oscar and was glad that Lady Olivia was not able to find out. It was nearly impossible for Lady Olivia to even imagine. Oscar, on the other hand, had a thought that she might be too temperamental, but later she'll find it out. She knew that Lady Olivia would, but for that time it was an excuse. In the Black Forest, the army had arrived. For 2 whole weeks without getting any rest, they were trying to capture the monster. But this year was different. The subjugation army was different. Daniel was killing the monsters, all due to the Red Knight's role model. Daniel was the one leading the fight and defeating the monsters at the front line. At the frontline tent, Daniel and Kyle were having dinner. Kyle asked Daniel if he had enough rest or not. Daniel was taking enough rest. Kyle advised him not to overdo it. If he gets hurt, Olivia will be furious. He was sad because Lady Olivia was maintaining a distance between them. He thought maybe she sent her handkerchief to Lord Giorgio. Daniel noticed something at the table on Kyle's side. It was the same handkerchief Olivia made for Kyle. Daniel took the handkerchief and asked if Lady Olivia gave it to him. Kyle said yes, she gave it to him. Kyle bet him that if he guessed it right, he could keep it, as Lady Olivia's embroidery skills were terrible. Daniel looked at the handkerchief for a moment. He noticed that the chick's eyes on the handkerchief were exactly like Lady Olivia's eyes. Daniel said it was a falcon. Kyle gave him the handkerchief and tied it to his hands. He wanted Daniel not to stain the handkerchief with blood or it would get dull. He was happy to get a handkerchief Olivia made. He promised himself that he'd be the first one to own a handkerchief she made. Kyle told him not to give up on Olivia or else he wouldn't forgive him because he and his father had approved of him. As Daniel felt it was too selfish to wear 2 handkerchiefs, he gave Daisy's handkerchief to Kyle and tied it to his hand. He gave the handkerchief that Daisy made for Daniel. Kyle was happy to receive a handkerchief made by Daisy. He just didn't want to be indebted to Kyle. Meanwhile, a man came and asked for Daniel. Daniel asked what was wrong. He said a horseman came and gave a letter to be delivered to Daniel. The horseman advised him to read it alone. Daniel had no clue who could have sent that letter. Kyle was eavesdropping on him. Kyle took the letter from Daniel's hands. Daniel got angry and said he had to read it alone. Kyle was amazed he was actually going to do it. Kyle asked Daniel if the letter came from Olivia. Daniel suddenly took away the letter and started reading it. It was from Olivia. She had sent her concerns to him and advised him to be safe on the battlefield and wanted him not to fight in the vanguard. Kyle asked what happened. Daniel replied he wouldn't be fighting in the vanguard anymore. Foggy images of Olivia's childhood memories surfaced. Kyle was 4 when Olivia was born. They were happy together with a family of 4. Daniel, from the start, took her side. Daniel and Kyle grew up together like they were brothers. Together they learned about sword fighting. They also played with Daisy in their childhood. Nothing changed even when Olivia was born. When they were small, days were more peaceful. Everything changed when Kyle turned 10 and Olivia 6. That's when their mother passed away. After their mother died, many things changed. The Count lost his smile and started avoiding his daughter and son. Time passed, and Olivia turned 16. That's when the subjugation army arrived at the castle. Olivia greeted them. She was the spitting image of her mother. She woke up. She noticed that she was waking up early those days. Maybe it was all because of the cold. It was snowing that day. She still made plans to go for sword fighting. She remembered how her brother Kyle used to motivate her that even if it was raining, nobody could stop her. She should not skip training. She knew he would say such words. She knew it was not martial arts, and training in the cold is a bit risky. She put on her warm clothes. Her body was a temple for her. Hammond was standing there and noticed Olivia coming down, so he asked if she needed something. She was going to the music room. Hammond requested to accompany her to the music room. Hammond opened the door and she came inside. Hammond saw she was chilled, so he lit the fireplace for her. The music room was where the Countess held all her affairs. It was kept as it was for the past 11 years. That room was the first place where Olivia learned to dance, as was the case for Kyle and Daniel. She noticed a portrait. A necklace was there. The names were odd. Her mother didn't use the House Versace's last name, maybe because that portrait was made before their marriage. She wondered how a face like her mom's could have led to Olivia's face. But now, after having a close look at the portrait, she could see the resemblance. The windows were open there. She sat on the piano bench. It had been long since she had played that piano. Kyle always wanted to become a piano expert, and after following her brother, she also picked up an instrument. Music always gave them joy and happiness. But as Kyle grew more, he became closer to his dreams of becoming a pianist. But Olivia loved to move her body a lot, so she learned kendo and martial arts. Her brother attended art school and lived there. But when she became a second-year middle school student, her brother jumped off the school rooftop. The police in school concluded that her brother was not able to handle the pressure. For her, that was not possible. Her brother loved music a lot. She felt like her brother left her behind. Nobody ever heard her doubts, and they had to bury their doubts in their hearts. And after that, even touching a musical instrument was a sinful act in her house. Families may share the same sadness, she found. The main difference was that her brother's room was abandoned, while her mother's room was always kept warm. Music had more meanings for two families. It was different. Sometimes she felt unconfident whenever her father and Kyle came into the room to listen to the piano. Whenever she played the piano, her father and Kyle always thought about the Countess. She never understood what was the actual difference between Kyle and the Countess. If someone could believe her that he never committed suicide, maybe music would have a different meaning in her life. She used music to run away from the thoughts and to reach the peacefulness of the family she was with. Julian was invited to the palace, and he was happy about it. Happiness was dropping from his eyes. He saw so many clothes in the palace. He was the first designer to step foot in the castle since the Countess passed away. Someone knocked. It was Lady Olivia who had arrived. She came along with her assistant and Daisy. He saw Lady Olivia for the first time. He was pleased to meet Lady Olivia. Julian introduced himself and his responsibilities for her debut in the Samhal Academy. Julian seemed very energetic and enthusiastic. She invited him there because she liked his designs and wanted to have a conversation with him. He knew about the Countess's height and great stature, but Olivia was even taller than Julian. He didn't expect this. She was not into dresses like corsets, so she didn't want him to add one to her dress. He agreed not to include one. He started sketching with a pad and pencil. He made a few drawings of clothes and dresses and paid more attention to her curves. Julian was so busy with the sketching that Lady Olivia had to wait. She asked Daisy if they could look at the brochure. They were looking through the brochure as time passed away. Julian finally finished. It did take him time, but he was able to draw something that would definitely look good on her. He had inspiration when he saw her first. She requested to see the design. As he noticed that she had great posture, something simple and a loose flowing dress would be more suitable. The first one she saw was too simple. The next one was too dark. She didn't like that one either. He kept showing, but she didn't like any of them until she saw something. She found that the design wasn't bad, actually. She agreed to go with the dress and suggested a bright red color for the design. He was happy that she chose one dress finally. He suggested that if he opened it up a little more from the back, it would look much better. She didn't want that, but he said it would not be good to hide her beautiful back. It would be an insult to Nefertiti. She imagined herself in a backless dress but strictly said no to that idea. He requested her with teary eyes as a request from him. She didn't understand why he was trying to expose her back as if it belonged to him. She added some details to the sketch Julian made and said she would only allow that much back to show. Julian found Olivia's idea was remarkable and absolutely genius. She wanted to know when she would get the product, and he assured her that he would make it as quickly as possible. Julian then left in the evening. Daisy was doing Olivia's hair as Olivia was discussing the idea of opening a store for the LeBlanc boutique franchise. She asked what they should name the new store. Daisy had a busy schedule. She had to go to Demire and only had 5 months to open 5 La Devon stores in the East. She knew about Daisy's schedule, but Olivia had a second thought. Maybe Daisy could handle the etiquette, as Julian might not have that business idea. Daisy suggested that Julian would be fine on his own. Julian was the kind of person who could even sell clothes to monsters in the Black Forest. Olivia asked Daisy if she was having a hard time nowadays. Daisy said she was having a hard time there. Olivia thought it was a joke, as Daisy always did. Olivia asked Daisy if she could teach something to Julian about business etiquette. Daisy agreed to that, as she would be less busy than being a boss. Olivia was insecure about Oscar. What if he approved or disapproved? Daisy said he might not have any issue having another boss around. Olivia could have blind trust in Daisy that she could persuade Oscar, and once she did, La LeBlanc would rise. Before she died, she was making sure about everything. Daniel sent a letter to Olivia. He mentioned that it was heavily snowing, and as Olivia had advised him, he had stopped working at the Vanguard. He hoped the best for her. She was happy to receive a letter from Daniel. She sent the shoes to Daniel as the white snow reminded him of her. He was hoping to be there before the date. Daniel's comparison of Olivia with snow was weird for Olivia. She thought he thought she was cold and uncomfortable. There was another letter that came the same day. She didn't get a chance to reply to the previous one, and she was wondering what it could be. She was nervous about the letter. As she opened the letter, she got to know that he had no delay in his duty, so he was coming the next week. She thought maybe she wrote too much in her letter. She didn't understand his words about the comparison with snow. It was beautiful. She was hitting the pillow out of rage. Also, she was going to Demire, so who would he be escorting? He also added her last name into the letter, which he hadn't done in the previous letter. She felt so bad about it. She wanted to die, but as before, she died and got into a much worse condition. Now she didn't want to be in a worse condition. She wasn't going to give up on him. She wanted him to fall for her. A week later, at the Knights camp before Olivia received the letter, Kyle asked what Daniel was doing. He was worried about the second letter he sent to Olivia. She might be in an uncomfortable condition, so he was rewriting it. Kyle took the letter and read about the boots, comparing Olivia to Snow, and how he was arriving earlier than expected. Kyle didn't find anything wrong with the letter. Daniel was sad because the previous letter he wrote to her was too direct. He thought he was too obvious about everything. Comparing a girl to Snow and admiring her beauty is something one would say to their lover, and he even told her about his return. Kyle didn't think much about it at first, but when Daniel explained it, he also mentioned that Snow has some negative points as well, like being too cold and making the ground mucky. Daniel was looking at the brighter side of Snow, white, cold, and fragile. It's like something you have already but still can't hold. And leaving his last name was also not a good idea. He should have just signed his name. It was too dark, and he was worried about it in the middle of the night. Sam was shocked that Daisy and Oscar were also going to Demire. He was crying, wondering why they weren't taking Sam with them. Oscar offered to let Sam go in his place, saying that Oscar would be a perfect head of the guild. Daisy said he can't be head of the guild. He is more suited for the boss. Oscar got angry, thinking she was trying to get Sam out of his work. But Daisy was also claiming him first. Oscar and Daisy started their argument, and Sam was stunned. Sam was disappointed in the two of them. He said Lady Olivia doesn't make false promises as they both were making. He yelled that he doesn't want to take away anyone's job. All he wanted was for the three of them to work together. He ran away from there, wishing them a safer trip. Oscar saw him running away in tears. Daisy blamed Oscar for Sam's crying. Oscar didn't understand how it was his fault, but Daisy said everything bad that happens is always because of him. A man in a black hood was standing in front of Renato. He gave all the information about Olivia to Renato. Renato learned that Giorgio was exchanging letters with Countess Versace. Not much information was available, but her swordsmanship was excellent, and she didn't have any social life either. She was responsible for all the business of the Hirsch and Versace family businesses. Renato asked how the North was. He was asking about Hirsch. Hirsch was a very clean and organized city. People were wealthy, and even in the slums, they had free clinics. The news he got from the hooded man was totally different from the rumors from 3 years back. He was shocked at how much had changed there. Renato asked Giorgio why he hadn't seen her. Giorgio explained that maybe she was not feeling well. They were sitting in a restaurant. She wasn't even accepting sick visits. Renato asked, maybe she was sicker than usual. Giorgio replied. Renato told him that the subjugation army was returning tomorrow, so he might see her then. Giorgio didn't understand how he knew about the army's return. It was just a rumor, he said. Renato didn't want him to know that he had dug up information. Giorgio wanted to attend the banquet. Renato didn't know that Giorgio liked her this much. Giorgio warned Renato that he could see her but not fall for her, as if Renato would do that. Renato did have an interest in her because of her changes in Hirsch and Versace. That doesn't mean he would fall for her. The next day, people were cheering. Renato was in the crowd. He was waiting for someone and felt ashamed that he had to wait at someone else's gate. The Red Falcon army arrived. People started chanting under the wings of the Red Falcon. A long blonde-haired lady on a horse was Lady Olivia. She was at the front, guiding the army. People standing in front of Renato started talking about Lady Olivia. They started praising her looks and called her the pride of the Red Knight Army. People were amazed that at such a young age, Lady Olivia had so much knowledge. He could not take his eyes off her. Even her personality captivated him. She knew what common courtesy was but was avoiding it. He felt sorry for Giorgio for treating him like a madman. He understood that the way Giorgio had described her was actually the same as she was. She took her sword into the air, and a few horses came in front of her, stopping at a distance. It was the army that had gone to the Black Forest. They had returned safely. Lady Olivia didn't understand why they came early. Was it because of her birthday or because they were about to be apart soon? Her father and brother got off their horses. During the time they were apart, she was thankful for Olivia. She was about to cry but held back her tears. After her brother died, she never cried. But now she cried and hugged her father in tears. Her father consoled her, saying not to cry as they had returned. Renato was watching everything, and he recognized her father and Kyle. He recognized them as the commander of the North and the Decran Guardian, and the living legend of Somehow Academy, Kyle and Daniel. Renato was shocked that they were openly expressing their emotions in public. At the Somehow Academy, Giorgio noticed Renato in a hood. He asked Renato if he saw Olivia. He did see her from a distance. He informed Giorgio that she was looking fine to him. Giorgio was happy to hear that. Renato asked him a question. He asked if she chose another man, what would he do? Giorgio didn't say anything for a moment, then closed the book and said that wouldn't happen because her taste in men definitely matches Giorgio. He said. On second thought, Renato forced him to consider it. Giorgio mumbled that he could get rid of him. But rather than kidding, he would ruin the person's life. He would make him so bad that he would no longer be her type. That night in the Versace castle, everyone was enjoying themselves. They were cheering and drinking together. Her father offered a toast to their safe return. He was happy while Kyle was busy eating. Kyle asked how they ate roasted pig. She said once it gets done, a servant will cut a portion and serve it to him. Olivia went inside the castle and wished everyone to enjoy themselves there. While she was going inside, Daniel met her on her way. For 2 months, she had been trying to approach him, but somehow she never got a chance to talk to him. She found him more handsome than ever before. Renato asked what Giorgio meant by ruin. Renato found Giorgio a prick, but Giorgio didn't want to beg someone for her. Renato got angry, but Giorgio was just kidding. Renato understood that he was not playing around. He was talking with full seriousness in his words. Giorgio was clever, and he wouldn't take a step back once he thought something belonged to him. Also, it was regarding a girl, so he'd be more aggressive. A guy like Giorgio would take time to come back to his senses, but if it were him, he would have married her to gain the power of the North. All of a sudden, the thought of marrying her made Renato flinch. Giorgio asked what happened. Renato thought he was losing his thoughts. The day of Olivia's 18th birthday, she got dressed for the occasion. Her maids were appreciating her beauty. She felt embarrassed. Daisy knocked on the door and asked Olivia to come out. She came out, and her father was standing there. He saw Olivia, and she was sparkling with beauty. He also praised her looks, saying she was lovely. After all, she was his daughter, Olivia said. As they were going down the stairs, her father reminded her that she was old enough to leave for the academy tomorrow. She assured him she would be back in no time, and he didn't have to worry about her since Daisy and Oscar were going there with her. While she'd be in the capital, she thought of acquiring more guilds and opening more Le Devon stores in various locations. Her father didn't want her to push things too much. She advised her father that taking half measures was not good, they should rather grow substantially. Based on her analysis, small businesses were wiped out, and average businesses were bought out by their competitors. She wanted to grow the guild so that people would come in fear, but still want to trade. Her father was shocked by Olivia's words. She mentioned that nobody would notice it until their difference in strength became undeniable. He had no words. He reminded her that Kyle and he were always with her. She was glad to have them. She couldn't have done it without them. She opened the door and went in. She was their daughter, after all. They came into the party. Someone announced their name, and her father raised his glass. He thanked everyone for attending her 18th birthday. He wished everyone to enjoy the party. Versace the Guardian, under the wings of the Red Falcon. They would protect them. He ended his speech with a hooray. People started talking, music was played, and food was served. Her father asked her to dance. Lady Olivia agreed with pleasure. While Kyle wanted to dance first with her that night, as she was leaving for the academy tomorrow, her father wanted to dance with her. But Kyle said it was always like this. Her father advised him that if he wanted to dance, he should get a daughter as well. Daniel came and wanted to discuss something with Kyle. He told Kyle that the crown prince was there. Daniel had told Hammond to deny any requests from nobles. Kyle thought the crown prince wouldn't show up there himself. He bit his thumb and thought he should have stayed back. Daniel checked the inn he stayed at and checked the temple in case, but he had left the previous evening. Kyle asked a favor from Daniel. He asked if he was willing to go to Demire with Olivia. This could be their last chance. Until now, on behalf of the Versace family, Daniel took care of Olivia as a representative of the family. But now, that girl was dancing in front of him. Olivia and Kyle were arguing even while dancing. She called him an idiot and told him to dance correctly. He told her not to step on him. Olivia had grown into a woman who received love and respect from everyone. Daniel's feelings had changed for her since the day she asked him to teach her about sword fighting. She ordered Daniel to teach her sword fighting. 3 years ago, when Olivia was 15, she reminded Daniel of the Countess while training. Her determination made him fall for Olivia. He always cheered her up during training to boost her confidence. He kept increasing the intensity of the training to teach her properly. Daniel made her run even when she wasn't able to run properly. With heavy breathing, he made her run even more to boost her stamina. Even during the running sessions, he made sure she was doing great and kept motivating her. She always found it a struggle during training. Even when she felt like her lungs were going to collapse, he ensured her that the body is like this and she could make it through. He enjoyed the Olivia that was mature enough, but the best moments were when they dueled. She always refused to duel with someone who would let her win. So, he never held back while fighting with her so she could learn faster. He never allowed any other man to duel with her. Even during training and duels, he kept on teaching Olivia how to behave with opponents and taught her that they wouldn't be easy on her just because she was a girl. She was always motivated for another duel. She never held back during training. From that day, Olivia was no longer a little girl to him. Olivia was Daniel's master. At the banquet hall, Olivia had to dance longer, and her feet were all red. She blamed her brother for it. Kyle didn't even like dancing. Daniel knocked on the door and asked if he could come in. He heard that her feet were sore and he was worried about it. She was fine but never wanted to dance with her brother again. He asked if she wanted to drink something he could bring for her. She didn't want anything and asked him to sit there. They were frozen as cold. She looked at Daniel. She was glad to sit next to Daniel in a room alone. She looked at his eyes, his lips. She felt so nice to see him. Daniel noticed, so he asked what happened. She changed the topic, saying the music was nice. She wanted to clear things up with Daniel before she went to Samhel Academy. She asked him if he was okay with her leaving for the academy the day after. It was such a random question. He didn't even know how to respond to that question. She held her dress and told him that they wouldn't see each other, and she didn't want him to take interest in any woman who pursued him. Olivia told him to wait there for her. She was sure about passing the exam easily and coming back home as early as possible. He said that would be difficult. She didn't understand why Daniel would be so blunt. That was bad. She wanted to change the topic as soon as possible, or maybe she should leave. She stood up and asked Daniel to dance with her. She was able to change the topic. She gave a wink to the musicians to start the song. They started the music. Daniel seemed to remember that music. That song was never played at a banquet for the nobles. It was a famous song in the north. It was the courtship dance. The meaning of the song was that if someone requests a dance and the other accepts, they also accept their feelings as well. It was a direct indication to people, announcing that they were a couple. She was sure he would dance, but Daniel denied the dance and rather asked her to dance with him on the next song. She went numb. She had been waiting for this for so long, but she didn't give up. She used her strategies. She really wanted to dance to that song. If he denied, then she would have to dance with someone else. As Daniel was her escort and guard, his duty was to protect her from other men. The fact that she used this trick to make him sad at least. But she wanted to dance to the song that mattered a lot. With her future husband, Daniel. He held her hand and asked her to dance with him. He knew that dance quite well. She asked just a moment ago. He rejected her for the dance. But he wanted to dance to that song for a while. He bent on his knees and asked Olivia to honor him by dancing with him to that song. She felt so good as she was honored by Daniel. She gave her hand to him, and they started dancing together to the song. They held each other's gaze as they danced. Her heart was beating faster than ever, seeing his different personality. She felt like they were true lovers meant for each other. She wanted to show everyone that Daniel belonged to her and that they should not mess around with him when she's gone. During the dance, he said something to Lady Olivia. Due to the sounds of claps, she couldn't hear it properly. She asked what he said to her, but he didn't repeat his words, rather letting it go. From a distance, her father and brother were watching her dance with Daniel. She was feeling shy. Kyle was angry that she was smiling, almost like a different person now. She was happier than ever before. Her father had never seen her smile like that. Her father thought that the courtship dance was a good idea and thanked Kyle for it. But Kyle thought it was his father's idea. Countess Halkin, the gossip hub of the Northlands, didn't know that Daniel was such a good dancer. Lady Wymanchild, a friend of Daniel's mother, was thinking that Ladyship's heart was beating faster while dancing with Daniel. She thought Daniel was a hard rock man with no feelings, but while dancing, she saw through Daniel's eyes that he did have feelings for Olivia. Everyone could fall for Lady Olivia's charm. Also, Daniel wasn't engaged yet, so maybe there were possibilities that he was into her. She started gossiping that Lady Olivia and Daniel's statuses didn't match as she was the daughter of a countess. The other lady told her to be quiet as they knew that Daniel's family held the rank of baron. There were only 10 swordmasters in the north, and 2 of them belonged to the Meridian family. The other swordsman was Ron, Daniel's father. The Meridians were serving the Versace family. If they weren't, the Meridians would have gotten a higher title, like Marquis or higher. Daniel seemed so perfect to those noble ladies that they were admiring him from a distance. Daniel and Olivia seemed like a very lovely couple. Daniel was trying to find Olivia after the dance, but she had gone somewhere. She was sitting, holding a glass and a cake. He asked Olivia if she drank all of that. She drank only 1 glass, not much according to her, but she was having hiccups. Kyle saw her and knew she was pretty drunk. She was very drunk, and at that moment, Kyle was reminded of the back memories of Olivia with Daisy. Daniel apologized to Olivia's father, saying she got pretty drunk and he couldn't stop her. Her father had no issues and asked them to escort her to her room before anyone saw her. Her brother tried, but she wasn't ready to go to bed. Kyle asked Daniel to drop her into their bedroom. Daniel insisted Olivia go to sleep, but she didn't want to leave as that was the last day they might see each other. Kyle told him to drag her to her bedroom. Kyle turned around and looked for Daisy. Daisy was outside looking at the fountains. He came out looking for Daisy. Kyle got to know that Daisy was also leaving for Demire. She was heading for Demire because there was an opening of a new La Debon store in the capital. Kyle asked her if he could come to Demire too. Daisy thought Kyle was worried about Lady Olivia. Kyle hesitated as he wasn't concerned only about Olivia. He was concerned about Daisy. If she went to Demire, he would miss Daisy a lot. She stood up and started asking why he would miss her and why he was worried about her. Kyle hesitated with all of the sudden questions from Daisy. He randomly started talking about the time when she was drunk 4 years ago. All of a sudden, he asked her about this. He just wanted to recall what she had stated at the time when she was drunk. Daisy wasn't the kind of girl who drinks and forgets things with a scream. He tossed the topic, saying he would go to Demire next year. He asked her not to forget to write letters to him when she'll be in Demire. She wanted to ask something. He kept her aside during arguments. She got angry, saying if she was kept aside again, she would kick him herself. She was frustrated again, and her hopes were too high too. She said if he kept things unclear, then she would misunderstand. 4 years back, in the Versace castle, there was a party for the army returning and a New Year celebration. They asked Lady Riviera where she got those flowers. Her fiancé gave those flowers to her. They were already engaged, but he always showed his affection and love to her through flowers. The flowers were pretty. Daisy noticed that Kyle came there. He was talking with Janet, and everyone thought Janet was confessing to him. Kyle's face was red, and they looked like a good couple. Someone asked Daisy about the flower and confession she got when she was younger. It was not true but just child's play, Daisy said. She barely remembered it now. Daniel was talking to someone while Kyle came running and slammed the door open. He told Daniel that they had an emergency. It was about Daisy. Daisy was drunk and sleeping on the couch. Daniel asked Kyle why he didn't stop her from drinking alcohol since he knew she couldn't handle it. It wasn't Kyle who gave her alcohol. Daniel asked who made her drink too much. Daisy was in a deep sleep, snoring there. Kyle didn't know who gave her the alcohol. He was tired as well from dragging her there. Daniel asked him if he was about to confess to her. But how could Kyle confess to her in such a situation where she's barely even awake? With Daniel's and Kyle's arguments, she woke up and told them to keep quiet. They couldn't handle her as she was too drunk. She woke up with rage on her face. They were worried about Daisy. Daisy was angry and told him not to confess to her and not to send her flowers again. She was so drunk that she was having hiccups. Kyle and Daniel didn't understand what was going on. Kyle reminded her that they had promised to marry each other. Daisy started crying, calling Kyle a dummy and saying how much she hates him. He pampered her somehow and told her not to cry. He wiped her tears and told her he wouldn't make her cry. Daniel asked him what he meant by saying he wouldn't make her cry. Kyle got stuck there. Daisy grabbed Kyle's collar and kissed him in front of Daniel. Kyle and Daniel were both shocked. Daisy told Kyle that he belonged to her now. Once she turns 20, Daisy wanted to marry Kyle. Kyle was so shy and scared. His face was all red. She warned him that if he ever looked at any other girls, she would definitely beat him. With that, she fainted again. Daniel grabbed Kyle's collar and asked him why he didn't dodge that. Kyle was in shock and shy. He didn't understand if it was real or a myth. She had really asked him to marry her. Kyle didn't know what to do as he was so happy. Daisy was sleeping there. Daisy woke up the next day with no memories of the previous night. After the banquet, it was finally the day Lady Olivia was leaving for Sumhal Academy. The temple opened a warp to make her travel to Demire. 3 of them, including Daisy and Oscar, were leaving for Demire. Daniel joined them as well. Daniel wondered if she remembered what happened last night. She had foggy memories of the previous night. She did remember the dance with Daniel. All of a sudden, she remembered the time she was drunk. She suddenly changed the topic, asking him why he was coming to Demire. As her escort and guard, he had to go with her. She was living in the hostel of the academy, so why would she need a guard? He didn't tell her that he was also coming to Demire with her. She was embarrassed about what happened last night in front of her. He knew that she didn't want him to be there in Demire. She was surprised but never wanted that. That's not what she meant. There are knights in the palace, and it would be a waste of resources if he came to Demire. It would be a total waste of a sword master to wait there for her as she would only be visiting on weekends. He has to work, and more importantly, the Red Falcon Army needs their commander. He asked Olivia if he considered her duty more important, then could he stay there? She was surprised that he was willing to stay with her. She noticed that he smiled coldly. She thought maybe the Red Falcon Army had kicked him out, and she could take care of it if they did. He wasn't kicked out but wanted to volunteer for her. The carriage started. At the Hirsch Temple, a servant of the Sun Temple introduced himself as Milo Olash. He bowed to her and greeted her. They were at the Sun Temple of Versace. That was the scene she had read in the novel. There were a lot of details about how the Crown Prince overcame the setup by Olivia. The servant greeted her with her middle name, Argona, a middle name only used to acknowledge the imperial family and palace. When Crown Prince Elfred was Crown Prince, his fiancée, Queen Argona, convinced her mother before marriage. But a week before the marriage, the fall of the Argona family occurred, and the title of Crown Princess was given to another noble family. The Decaran Empire gave the Queen of Argona a royal concubine, and that was when her mother Cecilia was born. Maybe the novel seemed weird, but the past was tremendous. It was all used to justify Olivia's bad deeds. Faithful to the author's intention, it was a plot that led Olivia to death. But she didn't want to compete with the Crown Prince to make her point. She was confused. Even if it was the Emperor or Crown Prince, she couldn't trust either of them. She was amazed to see the Empire. It was big. The servant told them that at this point, Olivia and Daniel could go inside. They followed the servant inside. The servant told them that the Emperor was waiting for them. Olivia was determined to meet the Emperor with fire in her eyes. The door opened, and the Emperor was sitting there. They came and introduced themselves to the Emperor. It was the first time Olivia had met the Emperor. The Emperor asked them to sit there. The servant poured tea for everyone. The Emperor noticed that Olivia had every sense of manner even without a mother. He asked where she learned it all. She replied that Baroness Meridian was her nanny. She taught her everything. The Emperor thought it must be Jean who suggested she apply for the swordsman department. She agreed, even though the Baroness never really met Olivia, but she knew the Baroness would understand it. The Emperor had heard of her sickness and noticed she was fine now. He also noticed that she was at the perfect age for marriage. She apologized for her forwardness, saying her health only recovered with the sword by her side, and she wanted to choose the knight's path. She was trying hard to decline the crown princess offer. The Emperor asked Daniel if he was the one who taught her sword fighting. Daniel replied that he was the one. The Emperor found Daniel to be a spitting image of his father, a sword master at a young age just like Daniel. The Emperor told Daniel that the royal palace needed men like him as guards. He offered Daniel a position in the royal guard, playing a trick by using Olivia's potential loneliness as a knight. Daniel accepted the offer as a guard for a shorter time. Olivia was angry sitting there. The Emperor started laughing, asking why he would want to work for a short while. Although Daniel was grateful for the offer, he had pledged loyalty to the House of Versace only. The Emperor knew that his master wouldn't allow him to work for anyone else, even for a short time. He advised Daniel to renounce his loyalty and claim new allegiance. He laughed and looked at Olivia, noting she was generous to him and even asked him to work rather than waste time. Olivia was getting pissed as he was looking at her when he said those words. The Emperor might get suspicious if Daniel kept looking at her like this, but she was pleased that Daniel was making a move, so she had no issues. The Emperor was laughing loudly at the waste of words. He understood that Olivia was Daniel's master. According to the Emperor, manpower should not be wasted. Daniel would be working as a royal guard as long as the ladyship was in the capital. The Emperor confirmed it with Olivia to ensure she had no issues with it. Olivia, with a forceful smile, said it was an honor that he considered the people of Hirsch. She was able to dodge the opportunity to avoid getting involved with the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince must be like him, she thought. After a quiet time, Olivia and Daniel were taking their leave, and the Emperor was having a good time after meeting Olivia and acquiring a great knight. He asked if they would visit often. She just said that if the Emperor called her, she would be there, even though she never wanted to meet him again in her life. The Emperor understood that she didn't want to come again but took it lightly. She took her leave, not wanting to waste more of his time. Olivia declined the royal carriage and chose to go with the carriage Oscar sent for her. Daisy asked how it went. Olivia was pissed off after meeting the Emperor. Daisy didn't understand why she was in a bad mood if everything went well. She started yelling that he got on her nerves. He kept bringing up the crown princess topic and even tried to recruit Daniel into his royal guard. She was so pissed. Daisy asked if she made a displeased, painful appearance in front of Olivia. Even though Daisy was right, Olivia said nothing went wrong. She turned the table towards Daniel, saying he had accepted working as a royal guard. Daisy screamed loudly. She was yelling at Daniel. She asked him what happened to his pledge. How could he accept that offer? What happened to his oath to be loyal to the Versace family? Olivia felt bad for Daniel but saved herself. If their father found out that Daniel accepted the offer, he would come directly from the border. Daisy wasn't ready to listen to him. She was nagging a lot and was very disappointed in Daniel. He explained that it was for a temporary basis as long as Lady Olivia was in the capital. Daisy asked what he would do if he couldn't keep his promises. He told Daisy that the Emperor knows knights' loyalty is more important than imperial orders. Daniel asked Olivia if working there as a guard made her uncomfortable. She did not have any issues with him working there as a guard. She was showing displeasure so that he wouldn't request more from them. Daniel was relieved to know that, but it was all thanks to her that he got the job. She was expecting a present from his first pay as a guard. Daniel directly asked her what she wanted to have. Daisy reminded him that he shouldn't ask such questions to a girl. Daisy told him to choose a gift on his own. It would make her feel good. She was fine with whatever he got for her. It had been a long time since the three of them sat together. When Daniel was the escort of Lady Olivia last year, they had many moments like that. From that point, the story took a different turn, and she knew that. They arrived at the Versace manor. As a wedding present, Elfred gifted that manor to Crown Princess Cecilia to show the Emperor's love towards Cecilia. It had large gardens and appeared to be an extension of the imperial palace. The Emperor thought he would spend time there with his wife, but she went directly to Hirsch with the Count after marriage. Fred, with his other maids, was welcoming Olivia. He was a royal attendant to the first crown princess. Olivia also introduced Daniel and Daisy to Fred so he could look after them as well. Fred's wife, Rose, was their maid. She had served as a maid for Princess Cecilia. The novel also talked about both caretakers. They were on Olivia's side till the very end. She was happy to meet them. Daisy hugged Rose. She was happy when Daisy was coming there. Olivia didn't understand how frank she got with them too. Daniel explained that during her academic time, she was suffering through hard times, and the two of them treated her as their own daughter. To Olivia, Rose had always acted like a strict teacher and caretaker, but when she met Rose, she was just like another 19-year-old girl. Olivia was hungry, her stomach was making noises. Rose had forgotten that they had a long journey. She asked them to come inside while she prepared dinner. Daniel asked her if everything was okay with Olivia. Everything was good, and for that time, she wanted to just smile there. It was the last day she could smile without any worry. After that, she would have to face many problems in the future. The reason why the Dakaran Empire stood strong for 100 years was due to the immense scale of Sumhal Academy. The reason why the second count made it compulsory to attend Sumhal Academy was to persecute the northern regions and strengthen the emperor's authority. From a broader perspective, Sumhal Academy started recruiting young and excellent students into the capital, providing them with high-level education so they could run state affairs. An emperor with a strong education system would guarantee a long lifespan. Even though everything was good, Olivia was still sad about something. She came out of the washroom after washing her face and saw Lola standing there. Olivia asked Lola if she slept well or not. Lola was surprised that Olivia still remembered her name. Olivia had a habit of remembering most of the maids' names. At the Versace castle, maids were appointed to Olivia, and Daisy personally appointed Lola for Olivia. Lola was thrilled that Olivia called her by her name. Olivia went into the care room, followed by Lola. At the Sumhal Academy female dorms, the magic department had white uniforms, but every other department at Sumhal Academy had blue uniforms. The uniforms were different depending on the department. Sleeves, buttons, and vests were different for each department. Those in the swordsman department wore gold like Olivia. The swordsman department had two uniforms, one for attending lectures and events, and the other for training. Nobles didn't get their uniforms from the school. Rather, they had to have them custom made from a boutique. Julian's work was impressive. Lola felt so good to see how well it looked on Lady Olivia. Lola told her about Violet's lady asking if she could decorate the room and what she should tell them about that. She would be sharing a room with Olivia. Her maid told Lola. In each department, the first and second place students were given separate rooms, but as she didn't attend the entrance exams, she was given a room to share with a roommate. She asked Olivia if there was any particular style she had in mind. She found the idea of decoration impressive. She advised her that they could do whatever they wanted and to bring the same chair and bed she used to have in Versace Castle. Lola wrote down everything she said. Olivia also told Lola to pick her own bed, closet, and vanity table. She could stay out until dinner. She was surprised that she was able to choose her things on her own. Olivia was just bribing her with things to make her work hard since she was the only maid there for her. She asked her not to use anything cheap as whatever she uses reflects her rank as well. Lola was so pleased with the lady and glad she came there with her. Olivia advised her to go shopping along with Oscar, even though he had some work to do. Lola agreed to that too. Olivia then went to Sumhal Academy, and Lola expressed her gratitude towards her leave. She had to go to the first swordsman department. There was a map for guidance. She came into Sumhal Academy but was confused. There was no one around. She wondered if everyone came there at sunrise and if they even had breakfast time. She saw two students of Sumhal Academy running. She noticed their uniforms were the same as hers. She also started running and thought, why are they running even though they have time? At the 5th Street of Demire, Lola came to Oscar's office and explained that Lady Olivia wanted him to go shopping with her, but if he was busy, she could go herself. He slammed his pen on the desk and got ready for shopping. After all, she wanted him to go. As Lola was still saying that if he was busy, she could go, Oscar was getting sad about that. Lola got scared, wondering what she said that made him sad. Oscar loves spending money, especially when it's someone else's money. It was a great opportunity for him to spend money and relieve stress. Lola agreed as well. She was happy about that too. They went shopping and bought things. Oscar asked if she needed something more. Oscar bought a closet, bed, kettle, and other essentials of Olivia's daily needs and made sure they got delivered to the Versace Manor to Daisy Meridian. Lola was scared that if he spent too much, he would get fired maybe. She was worried that if Lady Olivia found out, she would get mad at her. Oscar told Lola that Olivia likes people who spend money around, and Daisy and he make enough profit from that. She didn't understand why he was saying all of that, maybe because he makes a lot of money. Oscar wanted to spend more money and was looking for different shops. At Sumhal Academy, Arnold was about to be left to discipline the freshmen that year. He didn't want that to happen. Arnold didn't understand why everyone had to worry about discipline. Arnold's friends told him that Olivia was also among the freshmen the same year. the younger sister of his idol Kyle. He told Arnold that she was also in the swordsman department. Arnold was happy that he could watch the swordsmanship of Sir Kyle through his own eyes. The entire empire knew how much Kyle was devoted to his sister. He must have taught her something. While Arnold was still dreaming about Sir Kyle, he thought Kyle must have taught her everything himself. He may not leave Olivia in someone else's hands to be taught. Arnold was getting nervous for no reason. His friend took leave from there. Arnold was wondering how the daughter of Versace and sister of Sir Kyle would look. Meanwhile, Olivia was still running because she was late, just like the others. Let's see what lies ahead for Olivia in the academy in the next part of the video. I hope you like this video. Please let us know if you want more stories like this. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching this video.